Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. We're just giving you the rundown on Abdul Malik Rigi, the boss of that mafia family engaged in smuggling, drug running, and, of course, terrorism, blind terrorism, bombing Shiite mosques, killing dozens of people, and that's Jundullah. Jundullah, a false flag outfit claiming to be the pure Islamic fundamentalism of the Sunni variety, and in reality an arm of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and the occupation of Afghanistan, and of course targeting in that process Pakistan and Iran, who are the real targets of this whole operation. So Rigi now in jail. Rigi's brother also in jail in Iran. He had been convicted and sentenced to death for earlier bombings. He has now been commuted, I think, his sentence commuted. So he had already been telling these stories, but now we have film of Rigi himself talking about how he met with the CIA, got money, and so forth. This is another front, along with the Christmas Day patsy, who was deliberately allowed to keep his visa at the urging of an unknown U.S. agency. This is another case where this whole policy of state-sponsored false flag terrorism is close to being revealed. And indeed, it's to be expected that the Iranians will stage a show trial in grand style of this Abdul Malik Rigi, where he will testify in detail. They claim, again, that he met Yapteh Sheffer, NATO generals. They claim that the U.S. gave him an Afghanistan passport, that he had a UAE, United Arab Emirates passport given by the U.S., and other things. And what other things will he tell? A lot of worried people in Foggy Bottom at the State Department and out in Langley at the CIA as a result of this. And it simply shows the inherent bankruptcy of this policy. Now, the other thing is what's going on right now. If you look at RIA Novosti website and some others, in some places it's available in English, you can see a statement by the Taliban in Afghanistan where they say that the purpose of the Marja offensive is to attack Chinese economic interests in Baluchistan, especially the port of Gwadar, which we've talked about in this broadcast. You remember that before the beginning of the Marja offensive in the Helmand province, Helmand Valley, Helmand province of Afghanistan a couple of weeks ago, everybody was wondering out loud, why did the U.S. command in Afghanistan so systematically pre-announce that they were going to attack the city of Marja? Why did they do that? My own view is that what they said, right? General McCaffrey had gone on CNN saying the reason for this was that the U.S. wanted those Taliban fighters out of Helmand province and didn't care how, and if they could leave without fighting so much, the better. It was obvious to me that that meant that they were trying to force them down the Helmand River Valley and into Baluchistan, in other words, into Pakistan, into the area of Quetta, but into the area of Gwadar above all. And that's frankly what these Taliban also say. They have a somewhat more expansive analysis. They say that the purpose of all this, the Marja offensive, which is the Marines claim to have conquered the city of Marja this morning, fine, and that's no doubt they can do that. What they're really concerned with is driving those fighters out and into Pakistan. Remember, the policy is to export the Afghan civil war into Pakistan and into Iran, if that's at all possible. The Taliban line is this. They say that the goal of the offensive in Marja and Helmand is to target the Chinese economic interests in Pakistani Baluchistan, and in particular the port of Gwadar. The idea being that if you can get the Taliban into Pakistani Baluchistan and into the area around Gwadar above all, you will then have a pretext to militarize it. You can go in with Blackwater, or you can go in with U.S. military forces. And we see from various incidents that they are there in Pakistan on the ground, despite the denials of Ambassador Holbrooke. So if the U.S. can put military forces, say, into Gwadar, what can you do? You can kick out the Chinese. You can interfere with their whole operation, bust that up, prevent any pipelines from being built, because one of the possibilities for Gwadar is you use that as a tanker terminal for ships coming from Saudi Arabia. You put the pipeline up through Pakistan, over the Himalayas into China, and you've cut a good 10,000 miles or more off the trip. You avoided the U.S. and British fleets. You avoided the choke point at the Straits of Malacca, pirates, and all kinds of other problems that you otherwise have. And suppose the U.S. takes over Gwadar, you can use it as a logistics base. Right now, the supply line starts in Karachi, goes all the way up through Pakistan, has to cross that very dangerous bottleneck of the Khyber Pass. If you have Gwadar, you can supplement that with another convoy route, which would go up the Helmand River, I guess, and into southern Afghanistan, so that you could have the logistics for your operation going through there. So, in retrospect now, what was planned is obviously what we can call a double envelopment of Pakistani Baluchistan. On the one hand, the Marja offensive drives the Taliban into Pakistani Baluchistan, and at the same time, Jundullah is ready to strike. Jundullah usually focuses on targets on the Iranian side, but looks like they were preparing to lift and shift, because they can then go into Baluchistan on the Pakistani side and do all kinds of mayhem. And that seems to be what Rigi is saying, that the CIA gave him bombs and said, here, go and set these off in Pakistan and create mayhem, right? We have the accusation that Blackwater has done this in places like Peshawar. So a double envelopment, but of course, at this point, one side of the double envelopment has been decapitated. So that is what you are seeing as these events unfold. So hang on for a trial of Rigi, which will, I think, go far towards exposing the real nature of state-sponsored false flag terrorism in our time. Noticeable is that The Dawn, Pakistani English-language newspaper, ran a banner headline on the front page that the arrest of Rigi was a godsend for Pakistan and a lucky break for Pakistan. Usually the line is, also by various pseudo-critics of the U.S. regime, that the Pakistani ISI is the sum of all evil and the good U.S. is there being betrayed. In reality, it looks like it's the other way around. The U.S. is pushing this terrorism as a tactic, and the ISI forced to go along, but now finding a way to rebel. We'll be back in a minute.